I'm going to be comparing the Poltergeist franchise to the Free Willy franchise. The reason for that is because in part one of this series, I compared Poltergeist to Dumb and Dumber. I compared Free Willy to Sandlot. Poltergeist and Free Willy are the franchises that won, so now I'm going to compare them. When you look at highest score for each franchise, the original Poltergeist is an 88%. The first Free Willy movie is a 71%. When you look at lowest score, Poltergeist Part 3 only has a 15%. Free Willy 3 only has a 44%. When you look at average score, Poltergeist has an average of 38. Free Willy has an average of 53. The Free Willy wins this round, but Poltergeist... Actually, Free Willy's won 2 of the rounds so far. Poltergeist won the first one. When you look at gap between lowest and highest score, in the case of Free Willy, you're talking about a gap of 27. In the case of Poltergeist, it's a bigger gap for sure, 73%. Free Willy wins this round. It's won 3 of the rounds so far, so it's going to be winning no matter what. And in this case, I'm definitely going to choose Free Willy over Poltergeist. Now, I'm not too familiar with the Free Willy franchise. I've watched the first film before, but not any of the others. Similarly, actually, right now I've only seen the first Poltergeist movie. I think the big difference between these two franchises is that Poltergeist, after the first film, all the follow-ups have suffered from the problem of the first film not making it obvious what a sequel would look like. The first film doesn't end in a way that leaves plot threads dangling. It doesn't make it clear how you do a sequel to that movie, so it didn't really do a great job of setting up a franchise, meaning that when you get to Poltergeist Part 2, the problem is you can just feel the filmmakers trying to get more out of the premise than what's really there. They're trying to fabricate a follow-up because the first film is really successful, so it doesn't feel very natural. Because now, even though our family has left the house from the first film, something creepy happens again. It's like, really? Why is this happening again? This doesn't feel like the natural follow up to the first film. In the case of the Free Willy franchise, it makes more sense why there's multiple movies, because the first Free Willy ends, you go, yeah, I can see how you would do a follow up to that movie, tell another story about animals being freed. Free Willy immediately sets up a franchise, whereas Poltergeist is not a movie that sets up a franchise. It's a great film, I would say. A great entry level horror film, a good way for younger people to get acclimated to horror without going straight to Scream or Nightmare on Elm Street, which are R rated, very intense horror films that are meant for adults. Poltergeist is a good way to get started because it's a PG horror film that's not too intense. Yeah, when you get to the end, you have these bodies that are coming alive. They were in coffins, they come alive. So it gets a bit more scary, but not too scary. Now, I generally speaking enjoy movies that are about freeing animals. I like these kind of wholesome, heartwarming animal movies. Admittedly, when you think about the film Free Willy, it isn't as wholesome as other animal movies, frankly, because you start off the film by seeing that our main character is actually out on the streets. We see that, oh, this kid is hanging out on the streets with other orphaned kids. He's been bouncing around from foster home to foster home because of the environment that he grew up in. He doesn't trust other people that easily. He's more cynical. So it takes him time to actually feel with this new family that these are people I can trust that will be there for me. They're not going to abandon me Free Willy ends in a way that's heartwarming, but it doesn't start off in that much of a heartwarming way. When I compare Air Bud to Free Willy, the difference really is that Air Bud is the more consistently sweet and wholesome movie when compared to Free Willy. The interesting thing is that I just watched the first Poltergeist movie for the first time not too long ago, just within the past few years. I think the last 2 years, if I remember right. I definitely really enjoyed it. I like how you have a family that feels grounded. You feel like these are people you could know, and also the film is for the is overall set in an environment that feels real. It feels like something you recognize, and then you get to the parts of the movie where you're going into this other world. It gets more fantastical, and it absolutely works. So I'm definitely going to choose Free Willy in this case because right away there is a franchise that you could see. It was more obviously set up, whereas the original Poltergeist movie has a premise that works really well for one movie but doesn't set up a franchise. They'll wrap things up for this video.